Well,
Ready, Eddie?
We're ready to go.
Did you start the recording?
We're started.
We're good.
22, September 4th. Opening United Highlands Zoning Tourism Board meeting. First item is consideration of approval of the minutes from July 10th. If you want to have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Citizen comment period. Do we have any neighbors, friends with us today?
No, nobody.
No.
Well, we have 2 visitors, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay, but nobody online.
You like to introduce yourselves?
Go ahead.
Yes. Oh, me, Jennifer Tarbutton. I've lived in the area for almost 20 years and worked in this area for almost 20 years. And I'm currently unemployed, but for family reasons, and I'm ready to go back to work now. So I'm like, oh, let's do this for a minute and get back in the swing of things. So nice to be here. Nice to meet you guys. I like being involved.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I was just getting distracted. My name is Dr. Yalfan. I'm the Dean of Public Social Services Division at Boston College. I'm really excited. I actually became Dean as Public Safety Training Center ACC was being built. So I got to see that, and I bought my first house ever, and it's in Kyle. And it's
Yay.
great. So I'm glad to be here as an ACC representative as well as a Kyle citizen.
Thank you and welcome.
All right. Any other citizen comments? Reports and presentations on to staff.
Okay. So as usual, we have our sales tax, our impressive sales tax report. If you look at page 7 of your packet, this is just really exciting to see month over month that we are exceeding our expectations of actual sales tax receipts, and which indicates a very healthy economy. And so from year over year, so from August of 2024 to compared to August of last year, we are 7.5% higher in sales tax receipts. And then year to date, during this same period in 2023, we are up almost 10%, so 9.69%. And very soon we will have some other businesses opening, some new restaurants. We'll have Builders First Source coming online in the next quarter. So, you know, in the next 6 months, we should see even more increases to this as we build out retail. And also, of course, with Builders First Source, they are a very large sales tax paying entity. So that's all I have on the sales tax. We do, the next topic is board member updates. And I'd like to just start by saying that last night, City Council approved the Economic Development Strategic Plan that I've been working on for several months. And so we went through it last board meeting, and I'm happy to share it with those of you that were not here. I can share the draft with you in the presentation. I think it went really well. Council was kind enough to move it from the end of the agenda to the beginning, so I wouldn't have to present at midnight. And so I think it was great. They did, the mayor asked a little bit about if maybe the telecommuting had affected the amount of people that stay in Kyle versus, you know, before the pandemic. And I told him that I didn't track that, and I didn't have a way to figure that out. I don't know if Mike, is that something Daniel can?
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't, telecommuting, yeah, it might be a little bit, it's more recent data that we need. So, but other than that, they were very supportive of all the initiatives. So thank you all that were here last time and gave the feedback. So, and part of it included working more closely with the school district and your CTE program administrator. So thank you. And that's all. Any other board member updates? Dr. Wright, everything going well with school?
Sure. Great start. We're tracking according to the demographer's report. We have about 24,200 students currently enrolled, which is about 1,020 kids more than we had at the same time last year. And
Wow.
that's what the demographer said we would be able to track. And so as the year progresses, we are supposed to get up to 24.6 by the time we get to like February. And so we're continuing to grow. And so we're already looking for land for we have land for our 4th comprehensive high school, and we're looking for land for our 5th and 6th comprehensive high school. And we already have another spot, so we have to buy four total for the future. And so, as you know, it doesn't get any cheaper, so we're trying to make sure that we negotiate sooner than later. The demographer creates vector zones and tells us where the next high school is going to need to go, and so we use their data to decide where we should look for land. For high school sites, we're looking for 80 to 100 acres. For middle school sites, we look for 60 acres. And then elementary sites, we're still fortunate in this area that developers donate the land to us because it's a great marketing strategy for future buyers. They love having an elementary school in their neighborhood. So that's still working to our advantage. We're starting to get some developers from outside that when we tell them, they're like, no way. How does that happen? I'm like, I don't know, but we love it. It's a good thing. And so I've had a couple say, no, but we'll give you really pricing. I said, no, well, development across the road has already promised us free land, so we're going to go with them. Just be wise with our dollars. But everything started off smoothly. We are fully staffed, which with the teacher shortage across the state of Texas is a good thing. We have just a few positions that we need to fill, but for the most part, we're meeting our staffing criteria, and that's a good thing. Our attrition rate is only 8% this year. The state average is around 18%. Last year it was 6%, and so fortunately, our people are wanting to stay with the school district, and that's a blessing. So kudos to my team and to the community for being such a great place for people to want to be. So really, in a nutshell, that's it.
Mike, nothing?
I have a few.
I'm like, Julie, I
I
know you
I
do.
missed a few meetings because I have a conflict with an event this meeting, so I'm so happy to be here.
One thing to note, if you were not able to attend, and I don't see many people that did attend the July transportation update, this was with Mayor Mitchell, Tucker Ferguson with TxDOT, and Commissioner Cohen. It was recorded. It is available online. And if you need that link, I'm happy to send it to you. Very, very good information about what's to come throughout Hays County and where you need to pack your patience when you're driving over the next few years. So I really appreciated that update, and I think our membership did as well. Something that we will be focused on over the next few years to make sure that our members know what's happening so they can prepare their customers, they can prepare their staff in alternate routes, and they're aware of all those detours or changes. On September 24th, we will have a candidate forum. It is for District 5, which is an at-large position, and we decided to go ahead and move forward with that because there are 3 candidates that have filed. So it's very important for our businesses to know their candidates so they feel comfortable and confident when they're going out to vote. So if you'd like to attend, that will be a luncheon from 11:30 to 1:30 on September 24th, and you can register online. The other thing, just to keep your eyes and ears open, the Excellence in Commerce Award Program nominations will be opening up very soon. So if you know of businesses within the Kyle, Hays County area that are members of the chamber, there are certain qualifications for, we have 7 different categories. We would love to have you nominate local businesses for all the great things that they do and in demonstrating excellence. So That's it. Our board is actively working on developing their planning session as a result of the survey that we conducted to identify the needs and the wants of our members. And then we will develop our program of work for 2025. That's it.
Cassidy? Anything exciting going on at your here?
Just started our minor master plan update, and the focus on that is how do we accommodate larger aircraft at the airport. So we should have something towards the beginning of next year. So
That's good.
And as Julie was talking, I wanted to say, I was so thankful that transportation update, I was unable to make that meeting. And when I saw that online, I was so glad to see it. And we also sponsored recently an orientation at the chamber, which people can go even if they're not new to the chamber. And it was a great time. We were able to give a presentation about our department and to all the businesses that were there, and then also hear about everything chamber could do. And it was a good reminder to like update our website, stuff like that. So I recommend if y'all get a chance to go to that orientation and or sponsor it, it's a good thing.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, we were glad to have you.
You have the state of the district coming up as well, right?
That's right. Saw that.
Yeah,
I'd have to-
I'll be there.
Yeah, everybody's welcome.
I'm happy that you're bringing that back. I
Yeah,
always
we
look
have
forward to
the,
those.
we have the executive director of Fast Growth Schools Texas coming in to basically speak to economic development and the amount of money that Fast Growth Schools bring in. I think it's $7 for every $1 that is put in is generated. So pretty good ROI for the community with all the jobs that come along with the construction and so he's gonna detail that, and I'm gonna give an update, kind of a futuristic look as to where we're headed.
For one thing. So on the 17th is the Austin San Antonio Growth Summit, which partnership is I was sponsored for a while now. That'll be held in Brockton. So we'll have the city managers of the corridor, including Brian Pyle, on a panel to discuss what's happening in the cities due to Pyle's and Market Chronicles. Also, I think I will be on that as well. So come to that and learn what's going on in the cities along Austin, San Antonio. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, Eddie. I think we have any more updates.
Fantastic. So should we jump into convention center presentation?
Yes, but do we have a,
My thought is to kind of tag team this between you and Susan and myself. Talk a little bit about what was presented, which I don't think it'll surprise anyone here. We've worked through that for a few months. But then perhaps you and Susan could share whatever feedback you can share that we've gotten from council and staff since the meeting. There wasn't a tremendous amount of feedback during the meeting, as you might imagine, with the packed agenda. But I know there's been some follow-up conversations that I'm certainly excited to hear about if we're allowed to hear about it in this forum.
Eddie, great presentation, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very well done.
Labor of love. That's the thing. I think the community needs this, so it's easy to get after it. Well, I'll maybe just land on the recommendation. So obviously, we've been in conversation with mayor and council for a few months on their desire to learn more about viability for convention center for Kyle's future, comparing other municipalities similar in demographic to ours and some that we aspire toward, and looking at what they did and how they did it. So reviewing different funding mechanisms, different types of buildings, different sizes, different cost structures, what do you surround it with, what do you need to be successful. So we were able to present a pretty concise point of view back to the city, which essentially had some recommendations along. So I'll focus a little bit on the recommendations. Suffice it to say, we did recommend pursuing adding a convention center to our community. So it was pretty compelling as we look at our neighbors. This is a tool a lot of municipalities are using to drive economic impact and employees. So we feel like we should play too. And in the spirit of, we say in hockey, you don't pass the puck to where the skater is, you pass the puck to where they're going. I've urged council to bypass everybody with less than 100,000 residents and look more toward what are bigger municipalities doing to anticipate their future needs, because I think we can learn a lot from directionally where they head with their decisions. We're not at 150, 200,000 population yet, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot holding us back. So to plan for where we are today didn't seem like the right approach. And I think generally that was received pretty well. Recommendations, so there are actually some toys the state government puts in play for municipalities to play with that we were able to review with the team. And I think some new information for some folks. One of the most exciting things that we discovered through the research on this project is called Project Finance Zones. And this has only been used in the state of Texas so far to help with the development of Dickies Arena in Fort Worth and the surrounding development there that have made it such a great destination and competitive for so many national and international events that bring a lot of tourism dollars there. So essentially, the Texas state legislature on occasion will write rules that are incredibly specific so that only certain municipalities really have a chance to qualify. And then it looks like this is a tool that the state legislature uses to do just that. So recently, some flexibility was added to the language, which seems to allow San Antonio the opportunity to pursue a project finance zone if they chose to. They haven't done it yet. But those decisions tend to be very population driven. So as the city of Kyle trying to fight for those opportunities, which allow you to drive funding for upwards of 40 years into the future to pay for what goes in the project finance zone. So it's a really appealing tool the government has provided. We're not going to be very competitive for that with Kyle's population. So the strategy that I presented was to perhaps have some thoughtful conversations with our friends at GSMP. The corridor has identified 3.5 million plus in population, which would make us competitive with some of those bigger cities. So if we could approach the state government in partnership with GSMP with the thought that Kyle really wants to fight to have one of these zones in the city of Kyle, we think we've got a fighter's chance. At least we would be on more equal ground with some of the other cities who have tried to execute this. So I think that was a new topic within council, that this opportunity might exist. Will certainly take some creativity, and I don't know how flexible the state legislature wants to be in extending this tool to additional geographies. But nonetheless, it's a tool that gets used in Texas. So as we come across these, we're going to surface them. They're either right or wrong for what we're trying to achieve. But I think we're doing diligence if we're finding these opportunities and bringing them forward for thoughtful conversation. So, that's one that could have tens of millions of dollars of implication if, in fact, we could be successful. That is a long-term play. That is not something that can happen quickly. And it would involve action by the state legislature in order to permit eligibility by another geography within the state. So I would call that one a long shot, but it's on the list. We also talked quite a bit about sports tourism and that you don't need a sports venue to capitalize on sports tourism. And some of the examples I cited were UCA Varsity is a cheer organization that brings big cheer competition to Dallas every year. It is the largest event in the Dallas Convention Center every year. It's a cheer competition, so it's sports tourism. 27,000 athletes go to that competition every year. They sell out every hotel in Dallas, and there are at least one spectator for every participant. So you're looking at 54,000 people coming to town for that event at a minimum. So as you might imagine, they are very competitive for grants from the governor's event trust fund program because they are bringing people here from a distance of more than 50 miles from Dallas. And what the state likes about that is that means hotel rooms, that means eating out, not eating at home. That means rent-a-car revenue and the tax receipts associated with it. So I presented this trust fund is available for any municipality to go to and ask for funding if you have an event you are trying to do here from another state. Governor's office doesn't like to weigh in between municipalities, as you might imagine. But if we're fighting with Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas for a big event, and we can get them to come here, there are significant opportunities to pursue the governor's grant. It's tied to expected sales tax generation. So it's all about, once they know how many people are going to come here from more than 50 miles away, the actuaries take over and they can tell, all right, food and beverage is likely to be this, hotel tax likely to be this. And you come up with an estimate of what you think the event's going to generate, and then you apply for that grant. So to apply for the grant, you do have to put up some money. I think it's 7% of the grant you're asking for. The municipality needs to be willing to put up if they get the grant. So they want municipalities to have some skin in the game. But if you could imagine, we get a $100,000 grant to bring an event here that drives millions of dollars of economic impact, and that cost us $7,000 to apply for. They try not to make it punitive for the municipalities. They just want you to have some skin in the game too. But it's a program that, again, it can be in the tens of millions of dollars. So the Dallas Sports Commission was successful in getting over $20 million to help to come here. So it's not an insignificant fund. And it is funded through the state's share of hotel tax revenues that come in. So that's where the government gets withhold some of that specifically to fund additional. So talking through what could it mean to have a facility in Kyle that was not just a convention center, but how could we make sure we build that convention center in such a way that it was a really viable venue for sports events. So in the world that I work in, we sponsor over 100 of these events all over the country. So we're dealing with CDBs and facility people all the time. Imagine a wrestling event in the Fargo Dome that has 5,000 participants. You can put a fencing event that has 9,000 participants in a convention center. The fencing competition flooring is about 6 feet wide, and you can put 2 on each of them. You can imagine how many of those you could put in a 100,000 football room in a convention center. So sports tourism doesn't have to mean Final Four or an event at COTA. It can mean 27,000 cheerleaders and their families coming to town, booking all your restaurants, booking all your rent-a-cars. So I think putting a different lens on, we don't need a sports center in order to attract sport tourism. And by accommodating sports events, which really is about construction and clear span as opposed to tons of pillars. So it does have an impact on construction costs. But if you contemplate these things on the way in, you'll wind up with a facility that's very competitive for volleyball tournaments, basketball tournaments, shuffleboard, curling, you name it, you can do it there. So I think that was a different take on how could we focus on sports as a driver for our region. I think that was well received by council, that we could do that, the same facility where we could attract manufacture parts for car manufacturing that might need to have a trade show close to Tesla's campus. You can see how, okay, conventions can work here too, but don't ignore what's working for so many cities all over Texas right now. So I think generally speaking, I felt like it was well received based on the few questions that we did field from council in the meeting. What I haven't had yet is any kind of recap from after the meeting. What was the feedback or blowback or whatever may be the case, but I'm hoping that staff might have some information they can share with us that would indicate where council was on what they're doing.
Yeah. So also I want to make sure that we mentioned the venue tax is another option that we looked at, that we've been looking at in the past and that we will really be looking at in the future. So the venue tax is an additional 2% tax that you can add onto your hotels that would generate additional funds, but it would be set aside for a specific project. So it could be for a hotel and convention center. So that's another thing that we've been exploring. So I will have to say that following that council meeting, I haven't had a lot of chance to follow up with the leadership only because I was on vacation last week, and so I haven't really been able to sit down with Brian. Usually I meet with him one-on-one every week, and then we go through the items that are pending. But I think Lauren and I started looking at a couple of things. I'm sorry, I looked at you and I said, Lauren, so sorry.
I knew you meant, I'm like, Lauren perked up. I was like,
I don't know why I do that. Susan started looking at a couple of things that you had mentioned during your presentation about possibly becoming members of other, like Visit Austin, Visit San Marcos, Visit San Antonio might be a little bit far, but you want to,
So, yeah, a couple different things. Well, I did want to say, I kind of verified with Brian, and I don't want to get the wording wrong. But we are considering hiring a state lobbyist, which might include bracket legislation. So I did get that. Anyway.
thank
That'd be a
you.
big step.
Yeah.
But, so I was looking into and just started kind of drafting, some ideas around how we could encourage people to stay in Kyle, as you recommended, when hotels are overflowing elsewhere. And I quickly realized there might be some limitations on that because we've run into this kind of before. We have to be very careful about supporting certain businesses or promoting certain businesses over others. And so I kind of divided it into a list of what we could do as a department, what hotels could do themselves, and what we could maybe team up and do. And that maybe further down the line, we could even have a full-on travel promotion that we could run as a department, but that's not coming really quickly. But so we could certainly sit down with hotels and talk to them about what they could do and try to see. I also was looking at San Marcos's budget and their information regarding their venue tax and stuff. And I noticed that they said that they're being very conservative with their upcoming year for their hotel occupancy tax because their conference center is actually going to be undergoing renovations this next year. And so this does give us a chance to maybe capture some of those people that would be staying in San Marcos to stay inside Kyle because they are expecting that their rooms will be under renovation, lower hotel occupancy. So that might be a chance for us. So I was kind of excited to happen to grasp that.
What Susan's alluding to here is essentially with 394 hotel rooms over 6 properties, we have a finite limitation on the amount of hotel revenue we could possibly generate at 7% of revenues times 365 days a year times the average room rate. So we know what the upside is. We're not at 100% occupancy. So taking a look at the city of Austin when there's a home Texas football game, how do we work with CBB or Visit Austin to say, hey, how do we become an official housing destination for overflow guests who can't be in Austin? How do we do the same with other neighboring areas so that perhaps we can help our hotel partners recognize some big weekends when there are events happening with our neighbors that we don't necessarily host here, but we still have 394 rooms that we'd like to get filled and generate hotel tax rooms. So that's where we're headed with this is we really do have limited opportunity to drive hotel tax revenue in the short term. It is really going to be tied to how many beds do we get over time, which means heavy recruiting of hotels is in our future, I think.
And we're already working on that. I already have some others being filled. But yes, the more hotel occupancy tax that we get, then the more money we have to promote tourism and promote those beds to be filled. And, just
One of the other topics that came up from the strategic plan I presented last night was a branding initiative that would include the city's overall branding, but also some tourism branding. And so I'm excited to bring that forward too, to see where that takes us. And, that could help with the recruitment of hotels. So I think we're heading down the right path. I know that there's probably when I speak to Brian further, there'll be some more direction that council would love to have the board work on and chime in on. So I know that they really appreciated the work that the board did. So thank you all for that.
And so if we're looking to get into the space of using Kyle-based hotel rooms, to house individuals that are going to events in Austin, St. Marcus, and other neighboring jurisdictions? Is there opportunity to explore some type of like, transportation sharing agreement? Because I can imagine if you're coming in from Dallas to an event in Austin, you want to be in Austin and not having to drive the 30 minutes that back and forth. But if you're taking economies of scale and saying we're going to bus an entire hotel room or entire hotel of people to and from that event, that's more attractive.
That is one of my points that I have in my draft, but yes, I'm glad someone else.
And there's
Recognize
other
that, yeah.
opportunities. There are municipalities who have vacant land that would be appropriate for RV usage, as an example. So if you think about Coda, and if they sell out on RV spots at Coda, but there's a remote lot somewhere with bus service back and forth, all of a sudden the city's in a pretty unique position, whether that's city land that's being used for that purpose, or whether we do some outreach to landowners and see if they might be in the mood for an entrepreneurial opportunity that would generate some tax revenue for the city. So I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. All of these ideas are easier than building hotels. So we need to figure out,
Quicker.
yes, we all want hotels. That would be wonderful. And given our proximity to 35, surrounded by the cities we're surrounded by on the south and the north, I think most hoteliers are interested already in this core. How do we get them to choose Kyle over some of their other options? I think there's some strategic work on that right now. But there are other things we can do in the short term. We talked a little bit also about Airbnb and VRBO. And I don't remember which, but we have an existing partnership with one of them that makes it very easy for taxes to flow to the
Airbnb.
city.
Airbnb.
So VRBO is headquartered here. in Austin. We want to reach out to them and try and set up a similar program so that the voluntary contribution can be made automatically between VRBO and the city instead of having to worry about the individual property owners. Did they actually sign up to pay hotel tax? Because a lot of them probably don't know they need to do that. So I think while we've solved it with one of the two big players in the space, there's another opportunity, and it's not nothing. I think over 3 years, the collections were 211,000, if I remember the numbers correctly. So it's not nothing. And if you think about a $50,000 or $60,000 incentive for an event to come here to deliver millions of dollars of impact, we could make really good use of those hotel tax dollars. So it's a significant number, and if we use that money correctly, we could really incrementally or exponentially drive the economic impact from tourism even before we build more hotels. So we have opportunity in the short term. Nothing will be as good as being a legitimate convention center with hotels you can walk to there from. That's nirvana. But is that a 5-year deal? Is it a 7-year deal? It takes some time. It takes some public financing discussions, which don't happen quickly. So what is it we do in the years leading up to that? So these are some of the topics that we got into.
Eddie, I love this idea because as we demonstrate that our current hotels are being utilized because of overflow, the partnership with other entities, how we do that, we're soon going to have more retail, restaurants, the affordability, the close location to driving outside of the area of a venue. I mean, the overall rule is where a person stays or visits has to have at least 4 times the amount of experience that it takes to drive there. So if somebody has to drive an hour to get to Kyle, you have to have at least 4 hours of entertainment for them to want to stay. So shopping, restaurants, activities, experiences that we can promote for our city, even though they may be here for South by Southwest, they're going to know that where they're staying is also offering them these types of things in the interim. And I think now is a great time to start putting that package together and meeting with all of these, all the convention centers, the event planners, the venues, so we can start building that, which will then create a higher need for a facility like a convention
So
center.
Julie, you and your organization could be essential to the success of.
It's very
think about the
exciting.
limitations that we may have in the city to reach out and become a member of Visit Austin. If that's bureaucratically difficult to achieve, going back to you and saying, hey, the city thinks this is a good strategy, but the hotels are going to have to do it themselves. The hotels believe in this. They should come together and agree to fund membership in Visit Austin as a simple example. So I think where there are places where the city is going to be mostly helpful, there are going to be limitations based on rules of government in the state of Texas. So that's where a commercial organization like yours might augment a strategy where there are certain things we just can't execute efficiently as the city.
And drawing them in, I mean, when we did the tourism, the challenge at that time was drawing outside dollars in. And that's the whole purpose of tourism, is to bring outside dollars into your community. Our local events are fantastic, but the reality is it's usually locals that are attending. They're not really bringing the outside dollars. So if the other events are bringing outside dollars to our community, that's huge. And then you can build on that, bringing in more people when you build a facility. So building on that first, I think, is a very wise decision.
And I would venture to guess, given that we only have, I think it's 290 rooms today, 394 soon, something like that. Our occupancy rates may be sufficiently high already. So the incentive for the hotels to really get after, hey, what am I really going to get out of this? I think that's one piece of it. But as we get into conversations with other hotels, to the extent we can show them we are galvanized and we are helping to drive traffic, even if we don't have events here are the results. So let's make sure for a home football game, all the hotels are sold out. Let's make sure when there's a concert at Whitewater, all the hotels are sold out. Where the outreach to CODA should be purposeful. When CODA has events, how do we make sure we sell out? And the transportation strategy could be a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are things we can do to make this not just a better place for our current hotel partners to exist, but knowing we're limited in how much upside we can deliver to them. I think the performance of actually selling weekends out at all of our hotels is the evidence we need to convince some of the big players to put additional and perhaps different types of properties here.
The trick is loyalty. So your Austin events, they're going to be loyal to their Austin hotels and venues and Airbnb partners. So trying to convince them that we're a good option to add to it is going to be.
That's what it is.
It really,
is
it's an
additive
addition,
when they're at
another
capacity.
option.
When they're at capacity, we'd like to have some sort of official relationship that allows them to feel good about suggesting, hey, we're full, try our neighbors in Kyle, they'll treat you well. They got a great program. You got free bus service back, whatever it is. But it is about establishing that official channel where we are recommended by them. We have a presence on their website. The events promote us as a destination. How much of that's reasonable to expect? Some of it will be a little competitive, but there is truth to, if they're sold out, they're sold out. They still want to have the event. They got to find places for people to stay. We can be part of the answer.
Do we know our current hotel occupancy rate?
I don't remember if it was in the data for the report. We should be able to get some information on that.
Have you
Again,
been
my
able to pull anything
anticipation is occupancy is high because there's so few rooms.
I found the dollars, I didn't find,
It's been a while since I.
I found the total number of rooms and I found the amount of money generated in hotel occupancy tax and saw it was going up and down, so it's definitely not. Has not been capacity year over year.
We'll be able to find that.
I think by looking at your major events, South by Southwest, what's the other one? ACL, your football games, look at those dates and look at the occupancy in Kyle and also Austin, because they're not sold out. And pricing also, we have to be a little bit lower price to get them to want to drive and go through the traffic to get there.
This was October 15th, both Georgia, Texas, and Florida. It's going to be an absolutely insane weekend for Austin.
And then that's also ACL time too. So this October is a really good time to figure out what Austin's occupancy is, how that affects. So come November, we can look back at the data here and really see what that did without doing anything. Gives you a pretty good baseline.
Oh, that's great.
I think the city of Uland actually has Fall Fest that they have began,
Oh, yes.
yes, they've begun promoting that. I know that the promoter of that is expecting at least 10,000 the first year. And then within 5 years, he's promoted and says that it'll be up to 1 million visitors to that, it'll be 3 different festivals, one Fall Fest, Christmas time, and then spring. So in Uland. Mhm.
It
Yeah.
used to be in Dripping Springs. Is that
It
right?
used to be in Dripping Springs called the Pumpkin Fest. So based on that and all of the numbers from Pumpkin Fest, it's, I think it's gonna be big. I mean, it's, they're building it, Restaurants, breweries.
When it comes to transportation, don't forget, it sounds very Jetson-y, but, UAVs, vertiports, got an airport right down the road, very close proximity to the city of Kyle. It will probably start airport to airport before it goes elsewhere. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's not as far out as we might think it is.
What are UAVs
Just
and,
flying taxis, basically.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
I want one of those.
First.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about partnerships with the city of Austin, I think within those conversations, talking about the proximity to the San Marcos Airport and the willingness to explore partnerships when it comes to those vertiports as kind of a test case, be an interesting concept.
You need a restaurant there for the $500 hamburger.
I have the perfect idea. I just don't have the money or the skill to run a restaurant. But if you know somebody with either of those things,
There's a
I know
common,
exactly where it should go and what it should look like.
there's a
Nice.
common thing in private aviation. It's called a $100 hamburger. So people who own planes often run out of ideas on where to fly, so they just fly to a restaurant on an airport. Costs about $100 a gas
Oh, my goodness.
to go get a hamburger. So the $100 hamburger is really a thing in aviation. Gas price. What do you think? Food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top pilots choose food, yeah. Just thinking.
There's one more item.
Yes.
Figure out possible.
So,
Oh, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yes,
Uh,
number 4.
All right, so consider recommendations to the council for the appointment of Dr. Vaughn. Did I say that correctly? Okay, perfect. So Victoria, you're going to present on that?
Yes, so the ordinance for the board states that the ex officios that are part of our board, which is like GSMP, Julie, Dr. Wright, the chamber and the school district. There's also a seat that was reserved for Austin Community College. And so the board can make the recommendation to appoint the ex officio to our board. And Dr. Fawn has been recommended by her, is he our boss?
Our
Your-
upper administration.
Okay, yes. As a good fit for our board, she lives in Kyle and she works here locally. So we'd love to consider her. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you do? And
I do my whole story.
Yeah. You're like, how much time do you have?
I'm actually first generation immigrant. I came here when I was 3, but I'm more Saigon Cal. My dad was in Sutherland, Iowa, and then I came to Texas by way of graduate school. So I grew up in Iowa. I have a teaching background. My bachelor's degree is on education. After I finished my bachelor's degree, I went to the Peace Corps. So I served in the Peace Corps in the Philippines for 2 years, focusing on literacy and education, teacher training. And then after the Peace Corps, I got accepted to Columbia University. So I pursued my master's degree there. While I was there, I had an opportunity to look at replication of successful schools. And so while I was there, I actually got to start up a school. And then once I did that, I decided to pursue my doctoral studies and I go to Texas and I stayed. When I got to graduate school, ACC was creating their education program. So I was hired as department chair to start the program. I was department chair faculty for 10 years. Then it became dean about 7 years ago. So we got hired. They're like, hey, there's a public safety training center being built in Kyle. I'm like, Kyle? Where's Kyle? So I moved out here and I've been here about 7 years now. I oversee 10 programs in first responders, criminal justice, law enforcement, emergency management, and fire. And then I do teacher education as well as paralegal, youth services types of programs. So like I shared earlier, I bought my first house ever and I live in Six Creek. I'm really excited to be here and then also be here as a Sept.
Thank you. We appreciate your interest in joining our board and participating. You're just down the road, so so I hope that I think one other thing is that we also want to talk about after the board makes their recommendations is our next upcoming meeting. So we want to be sure that the meeting time meets with everybody's, including anyone considering to be on the board, that meets with your schedule. You know that you're available at that time. So do we want to make the recommendation?
It's the first recommendation on the, to recommend to council the appointment of Dr. Powell.
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Step one.
Yes. And I don't think it's an item on the agenda. So
Just put it in some of the language.
you did. You put it. I saw it. It's in the backup material, but it just says discuss the October meeting. And I think it's just all meetings in general. So for those of you, Dr. Khan, and they're new, we typically met the second Wednesday of every month at 11 o'clock. And the 11 o'clock hour seemed a little problematic for some people, and they preferred the morning meeting. So we're just jumping between the first Wednesday and the second Wednesday right now. Also, because of some summer travel that came up, we were trying to accommodate schedules. So I don't know if we want to stick with the first Wednesday of every month, if that's something that's better. Yeah, Julie, I know, has business over breakfast on the second Wednesdays of every month. So if the first Wednesday works for everybody, the same time, is this good? And we try to keep it to an hour. We got started a little bit late today, but we try to be respectful of your time so you can get on out of here. We'll feed you some breakfast and we'll talk some business and then you can be out of here by now. Okay, so we'll just keep it at the first Wednesday of every month at 8 o'clock. Okay.
I probably won't be able to get here till 8:20.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
This works great because everybody was.
Yeah.
Time.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right, so as we get more information, more feedback from council, direction, the convention center project, we'll certainly share that. I do anticipate there will be some additional asks for information based on the initial questions they asked. So as we are formally presented with those, I'll share with the group and come up with an impact plan. Councils. All right, are we clear? Anything else?
Yeah, right quick. Lauren was making a good point that possibly with the school traffic and drop off with kiddos, does 8:30 make more sense? Or and then
Says it doesn't work.
yeah,
Okay.
that's right, Luke.
Yes.
I think he has something in 9 o'clock. Yeah. So, but 8 is good. Okay, we'll keep it at 8, and then you join us when you can. We'll wait for you.
We always have the
So,
video.
yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all.
Motion to adjourn? Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
You always look at us.
Anybody just want to?